Every club. Every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.
Hey everyone, welcome in Wolves fans. It is me, Chris, hosting Daily Wolves today, and it's the dream team. Three of the four of us are here in the house. The original trio, shall we say, with myself, Will and Nathan. Welcome in, guys. Will, I'll start with you. How you doing?
Yeah, no, I'm all good. The three wise men have come early this Christmas, haven't they? It's nice to be back.
Yes, indeed. And I'm totally going to push past that comment as we all chuckle in the background like young schoolboys. Hi, Nathan. How are you?
I'm very well. Hello, everyone. I'm over the moon. Over the moon. What a time. Straight away. Fantastic.
Yeah, what a time to be alive. We are, of course, recording this in the aftermath of a glorious debut victory for Vitor Pereira, the new Wolves manager, as we discuss the unexpected scoreline, I'll be quite frank, of Leicester 0, Wolves 3. And I mean, first and foremost, I guess, guys, I don't know about you guys, but I saw the team sheet come out and I was like, I'm happy with this because there was a couple of names there we've discussed on and off a lot this season, the likes of Rodrigo Gomez and Gedge being two of them, arguably. But there was some other interesting stuff there as well. So, Nathan, let's jump to you. What did you make of the lineup, first and foremost?
It was difficult to know exactly what he actually went with originally. I know we kind of popped it in our group chat and we were debating what formation he was going with. So I think the most interesting thing was actually seeing, obviously, as you mentioned, Rodrigo Gomez started and Gedge, or you always do the proper pronunciation, I'll go Guedes. Guedes started as well. But what I thought was probably most interesting is when they actually were set up, is the little tweaks that he made with regards to the names that he played. So O'Neill would always go with, or when he went back five, would go Semedo in the back three and Doc as a wing back. Whereas here, Pereira went with Semedo as the wing back and Doc in the back three. And I think little tweaks like that and just how, I mean, we'll come on to it, but we were so much better defensively. Like it was night and day in just general open play. We were better from set pieces. I mean, just the fact that we've got a clean sheet is just amazing. So yeah, the team sheet coming out, I was happy to see it, but more interestingly, seeing how we lined up and Rodrigo Gomez at left wing back, who I thought had a fantastic game at left wing back. I thought he was immense. And when you first look at that team sheet, you'd think, gosh, that left hand side is a bit vulnerable with Totti being, on and off form recently. And then Rodrigo Gomez is not your conventional left wing back. But yeah, fantastic stuff.
Yeah, it's been discussed potentially before that Gomez could have come in Rodrigo at left wing back at points when there's been struggles at the back, and it's never been an option under O'Neill. But he felt, obviously, with Aït-Nouri suspended, it was interesting to see that choice because we weren't sure beforehand if he was going to be like, a winger up front or if it was a left wing back or how it was going to be. And I agree that Doc being in the back line, he's just so much more solid in the air. And it allows Semedo the freedom to charge forward, which he's really good at. And but also they can always rotate if there's a problem. They overlap really well. But Will, on top of those things, what did you think? I mean, there was an element as well of potentially like a little bit of a Portuguese coming of age, because obviously he knows some of those players potentially from his own nation. And we saw the likes of Sarr immediately coming back in for Johnson. What did you make of that?
Yeah, I mean, to be honest, guys, you've ticked all the boxes I would have mentioned straight off the bat. First of all, the big one that I want to speak about was what Nathan mentioned with the Doherty and Semedo thing. Chris, you've always said how good Doc is in the air and so on and so forth. So it makes sense for it to be that way around, in my opinion. Although Doc does have a goal in him. But that, it was just good to see. You mentioned there as well the sort of Portuguese feeling to the team, and I like it. It feels sort of, dare I say it, we are back. It feels got a Portuguese manager, a bit of samba going on in the middle of the pitch. I thought Andre was unreal today. Guedes not only scoring but smiling.
And assisting.
It all seems to be coming together. Although, having said that, I'm cautious to not get ahead of ourselves. I mean, in contrast to, I know, as you mentioned, Nathan, we were discussing our lineup when we saw that get announced before kickoff. I looked at the Leicester one and I thought, goodness me, that's a championship team. It's such a championship team. It's, I mean, the classic mistake of Cody in a back four to start off with. I thought as soon as I saw that and knew that Cunha, for example, would be coming up against the likes of him and Vestergaard at the heart of a defence, I thought, surely, we've got to get a result here. But then again, I thought that previously this year under O'Neill, you thought it last week against Ipswich. So yeah, overall, just buzzing to see such a turnaround in such a short amount of time. I think it's that's the biggest takeaway from it for me.
Yeah, I think obviously, like you say, we have to be careful not to get too carried away, because it was against Leicester, who, like you say, you look at the lineup and the way they've been playing recently, not necessarily the strongest opposition in the league by any means. But then again, we've been conceding just so easily. To get any kind of clean sheet and score 3 goals in the first half at the same time is surely a reason to be optimistic.
Yeah, I mean, I was thinking about the clean sheet. I've forgotten what that felt like. And the biggest thing for me, I saw someone say, was that the second half was the most boring second half that possible, and they loved it. Mm-hmm. And I'm the exact same. That sort of professional seeing the game out, just boring if you like, when you're 3-0 up. That's the sort of performance we've been longing to see, I think.
Yeah, I think overall our game management throughout that entire 90 minutes was spot on, and that's something that we've just not been able to. There's not a full 90-minute performance like that we've put in all season, I don't think, where we've actually from minute 1 to minute 90, whatever, made the right decisions in the right areas at pretty much all times. Well, I mean, you mentioned there, Will, the Leicester's lineup. I have to say, and the lineup might have been sort of championship quality, but that performance was championship quality from Leicester as well. They were extremely poor. I mean, there was times in the game where there's a moment in the second half where Cunha picked the ball up on about the halfway line and stood still for what must have been 4 or 5 seconds, and no Leicester player pressed him at all, genuinely stood still with the ball. And there were times in that second half, multiple times, where our midfielders just had so much time and space on the ball. And when you're 3-0 down, the very least you should be doing is adding intensity to it. And I have to say, to give credit to some of those Wolves players over the past few weeks, when we've been on the back of some very, very difficult results and conceding a lot of goals, that's the one thing that they, as individuals, always did show, is a bit of fight and a bit of sort of pressing belief and just sort of go into the 90th minute. But that Leicester team looked well beaten, even at 1 or 2-0 down, the heads were going. I mean, their fans vacated the ground with, when they were 2-0 down, 36 minutes in, half the stadium left. Yeah. And the Wolves away fans were having a cracking time. I mean, the Olays were going for every pass we were making. I think that was already in the first half. And so it was it did make me feel like we were so back when that was going on.
Yeah, the game management is something that is interesting, and hopefully something we see continued. Obviously, we've spoken about the fact Vitor has moved from club to club, but the one thing you can't deny is he's got a lot of experience on his CV, and he has won titles with the likes of Porto. So, he's obviously got some game management experience in there, definitely way more than O'Neill. So fingers crossed that that is not just a one-off, that continues. And arguably we could still see changes in who he picks, because obviously in the first few days, he's probably gone especially for names that he knows and understands, from his own nationality, that maybe he's just got a better scouting knowledge of, or whatever it is. So, but those people that started are people we've all been discussing, and they've earned it again, because Gomez gets a goal and Gedge gets a goal. All the names we've been discussing as coming on late and not having much chance to do anything, they've been given a start and they've shown a reward for it.
Absolutely. Yeah. I think on like Rodrigo Gomez is I genuinely didn't know he had that defensive ability in him because I guess we hadn't seen it really because he's always kind of come on that wing position and he hasn't always had the opportunity to show himself for a full 90 minutes really. But on that in that wing back position where he's picking the ball up sort of not as far forward as he was usually when he was brought on as a full on winger under O'Neill, but could pick it up a bit deeper and run with it a little bit more. I thought he was just so sound defensively as well. I just genuinely didn't expect it and just read the play very well. And I think one of their biggest threats was Mavididi on the wing, who you'd identify as like maybe their star player going forwards alongside Vardy. And they switched him from one wing to another a couple of times. And I thought, oh, here we go. Rodrigo Gomez might struggle, but he was absolutely fine. And it was great to see, really.
Yeah, they noted on some of the commentary I was listening to that obviously he's quite short, and there was a few times Leicester tried to go at that thinking that would be their advantage. Their goal kicks were going in that direction, but he stood up to the task. Even though he's a small guy, he put his, he gets stuck in and made it difficult for them. So people maybe underestimated his ability, like you said.
Yeah,
before
definitely.
we get on to the goals, we maybe run through the goals. I'll just take a moment while you all bask and revel in the fact that, yes, we won. We won 3-0. To remind everyone that here at Global Sports Podcast Network, we spent a lot of time selecting our delivery platform. Zencastr came out the clear winner, just like Wolves, with 4K video recording from your phone and AI editing that automatically removes all those ums and ahs. It's super easy to start a podcast that sounds great and is delivered efficiently. If you're ready to tell your story, check out the link in the show description to learn more about Zencastr. But so let's go through the goals, shall we, one by one. What did you make of the first, Guedes or Gedge, should I say? I normally say Gedge. Gedge's first goal.
Yeah, first of all, I love your persistence with the pronunciation.
Thanks, you're welcome.
But yeah, I'm glad you sort of took the time now to speak about the goals because that was something that was going through my head. First of all, yeah, the Guedes goal. I mean, what a finish! Like, I don't know if that will get the appreciation it deserves, but that's ridiculously difficult with the angle going away from goal and how high up the ball was when he was able to get his foot on it and to drag it back across goal towards the far corner. Yeah, I think it's definitely going to be an underrated goal of the month, shall we say? Yeah, I was a big fan of that one. And then Rodrigo Gomez's. I mean, Nathan, you spoke earlier about it being a championship performance from Leicester. I mean, that was just a shambles defensively. Having said that, credit where credit's due. It was a good spot by Doherty to play that ball, and it was the right pass, and it was on.
And Gomez hasn't he could have stopped his run, but he's persisted.
Yeah.
He's gone for it.
Yeah, but I don't know what James Justin was thinking to let it run across him there. I've watched it a few times, trying to figure out what he was trying to do or what he thought was going to happen, and I've not a clue. And then Danny Ward in the goal either didn't cover himself in glory.
He just fell to the ground.
Yeah.
Well, what? I didn't understand it. He kind of just collapsed in front of him.
It was like watching it like on FIFA or something back in the day. But having said that, who cares? I was buzzing for Rodrigo.
And also because in that moment, if you've watched when you watch it back, because it's got a little more skill than maybe people give it credit for in the moment, because he kind of knocks it on with his chest. And then because the keeper is going to ground, he just manages to get a fraction of a toe on it just to push it past him.
Yeah, I'm not taking anything away from Wolves at all. It's, like I said, a good ball by Doc, and Gomez did what he had to do, and he did it well, but it shouldn't, from a Leicester point of view, that's not a goal that you should be conceding. And the third one, again, lovely finishing off the post.
Because the goalie gets a hand to that.
Yeah. And, on another day, he palms that wide and, things aren't going quite our way, but it just felt today like everything was clicking into place, I think. And, the one thing I do want to mention about that final goal is, as you mentioned earlier, Chris, it was a Gedge assist as well. So, ticking all the boxes, and three nice goals, but 3 goals that I think, on another day, try not to get too ahead of ourselves. It's fine margins, I suppose, is my point, and they could easily have not gone in our favour. I'm just buzzing that they did, because it's been a long time coming.
Yeah, no, that's a good point. Nathan, did you want to comment on any of the goals?
Yeah, I wanted to comment on Guedes in particular. I think in that first half he was immense. He was fantastic. I think he added some energy going forwards that he's been adding off the bench in a lot of games. I think I'm right in saying that was his only second start in the Premier League this year.
I think so. I'd have to check.
And I believe that's his second Premier League goal this season as well. And obviously involved with the assist for Cunha's goal as well, which I thought was brilliant. The run down the channel, turning the defender and having the awareness to bring it inside to Cunha, I thought was fantastic. And just overall in that first half, there was a few bits where you could just see that it looked like a new sort of wave of confidence. Like he was flicking it left and right and back heels and all sorts of just looking like that kind of winger that you want. Whereas maybe under O'Neill, he'd come on and he had a lot of energy, but we wouldn't maybe see as much of that kind of, I don't want to say arrogance, but just true confidence when you see a player express themselves like that, especially those that are sort of attacking players. So, yeah, really happy to see that.
And on a similar note, I want to add that something that impressed me, I alluded to earlier, the smile that we saw from Guedes at multiple points, but just the passion and that belief and that confidence that you speak of, very much all consequences of a new manager bounce. I know it's a bit of a cliche phrase, but it seems to have been put into action today. But yeah, just the celebrations and even from Vitor himself at the end with the crowd. But that effort and that sort of, there's a belief. There really is a belief, which is something that I personally have been lacking in this team for a good while. So it's nice to have that restored.
Yeah, just the overall just like energy around the whole away support and the players, just everything just felt like a manager bounce is a thing, but that was probably the most perfect example of it. Because about a week ago, the way we were talking about the team and the words that we're using today, like fantastic, energy, confidence, all these things, like we weren't speaking of. And these are the same players. It's just that literally manager bounce.
Still hate Jeff Shee, though.
Yeah, and the fans made that known at points as well.
Yeah.
There's some interesting songs today. But yeah, it was huge overall as well, because if you think that puts us on to 12 points, we're still in the relegation zone. But obviously, if Leicester, we're now only 2 points behind them, they're on 14. Obviously, if they'd won today, we would have been even more adrift. But that makes the table look a little less scary going into the next run of fixtures, but they are going to get tougher. But hopefully we've played this Leicester team, low performing as they are, at the right time to give an extra morale boost on top of the new manager bounce to go into these next fixtures with. So I guess the question is, are we feeling, do we think Vitor has a dream? Is this the beginning of something special? Where are we going from here, Will?
Well, as you were saying that, I'd been looking at the table prior to recording, and I remember during the week I was speaking with my uncle, and he was saying how we've been saying every match recently is a must-win. But this really, really was the must-win of all must-wins ever. If we had lost that, we were down as far as I was concerned. I'm still sort of on the fence with that, but just as you were talking, Chris, I felt optimism. I felt sort of uplifted. I felt like, we're going to finish about 13th and, quite comfortably out of the relegation zone. And we're going to kick on and push for Europe next season. You heard it here first.
If I turn that to you, Nathan, you look at the table now, as I said, and you think, obviously, below us is Ipswich and Southampton. I know we lost to Ipswich, but, overall, you've got to think they'll still be down there. Leicester, who we just beat, you've got to think now that we can push past them. Surely there's 3 worse teams now, surely?
Yeah, I genuinely think so. I think we know that squad-wise, we've got better quality than at least 3 teams in the league, and we've always known that from the start. But the quality that we're putting out on the pitch has obviously not been good enough. One of the things from the table that I actually find, and it's been a constant, sort of positive throughout the season, is the amount of goals we've scored. And
Yeah.
another 3, at time of recording this, another 3 today is fantastic. And it just brings that goal tally to 27 already this season. And that's more than Forest, Newcastle, Villa. That's more than all these teams that are top 6, top 7 in the league. And that's meant to be said. And the fact that we didn't concede is just all positive.
Yeah, well, that's exactly it. The issue is the fact that we've got 40 goals against,
Yeah.
which, but I wanted to mention, obviously, a lot of those have come from set pieces. I don't know if you guys saw prior to kickoff, the players warming up, defending corners. I think perhaps a bit of a gimmick because the new manager knows how much of an issue it's been. I dare say they've worked on it behind closed doors, but to do that prior to kickoff, on the pitch in front of the fans in the stadium is quite a statement and a good one, I think. But yeah, as long as we can keep those clean sheets coming, I think we'll be fine.
Yeah, I guess the main thing off the back of the set pieces, it's all well and good, practicing them before kickoff, and whether it's a gimmick or not to show the fans and the opposition that we're practicing them, I don't know. But the fact that actually in the game, I thought we were a lot better from set pieces. Now, I think Leicester had a chance I think it was the first half where they kind of had a free header at the back stick and they sort of messed it up, ended up coming off one of their own players. But other than that, I can't really think of moments where from set plays they looked like they threatened us a lot. And I think that's something that is I'm so happy to be able to say that, because in all of our previous fixtures this season, we've always been worried about conceding a goal from a set piece. We've been conceding nearly 1 a game, which is just ridiculous. So the fact that it was solid, and I have to say, Sarr was very, very assured in goal. He was good off his line. His distribution was good. And when he was called upon in the first half, when Vardy went through, and he came out of his box, he read the situation perfectly. So all in all, I think he was immense. And at times when Totti Gomez missed some of his clearances and some other defenders sort of scuffed their lines, Sarr really did recover well, and that's so good to see. And I think there were numerous occasions where players made some small individual errors, but just as a unit, we recovered quite well. And it's refreshing to see that defensive confidence.
Yeah, and I think, regardless of whether the set piece practice before kickoff continues or for how long, if it does, I don't mind it. We've been that bad. If it helps just drum in a bit of routine into their brains before kickoff to remind them of everything they've just been through in the last 3 days, then go for it. If it helps, go for it.
I've just thought of something on the set pieces that I remember O'Neill saying, and I remember him saying, it was after the Ipswich game before we got the sack, how we've tried everything. We've tried everything with set pieces. Not once do I remember seeing them try, just going man for man, your biggest men against their biggest men, and everyone picking up a man. Sorry, there's just
or putting a man on the post.
Now. Yeah. But it just goes to show. Sorry, go on, Nathan.
What I was going to say is, I don't think Vitor has kind of brought in any massive new sort of philosophies with those set pieces, because it didn't look like we were man for man against Leicester at all. But just the challenging element of it, like the mental attitude towards defending those set pieces has to be. It's sort of all or nothing. You've got to challenge for everything, absolutely everything. And I have to say, just overall defensive displays of confident defensive displays where you're going to go and attack the ball as a defender and not. You know, that Ipswich winner, the fact that just no one got up with him, is just so poor. So we were challenging for everything, and I think that's the basic, right? But it's the first step in the right direction, I think.
Yeah, you mentioned there that he didn't change much on those set pieces. I listened to his post-match talk, and he spoke about how, given the short amount of time, it was a case. This was in terms of the whole performances, in case of not changing much, but doing the best that we can with the profile that we have currently. So I wonder if, we are going to see some sort of more vigorous changes around set pieces and, the wider play in general. I suppose we'll have to find out.
Yeah, and it follows on with something he said in his first pre-match the other day on Friday about I took special note of the fact he mentioned specifically about playing players in the right position that they feel comfortable with to get the best out of them. Yeah. And I just remember thinking, thank you. That would be great.
No bell guard at right wing.
I think that would be great. However, guys, before I go on to because I have a couple of questions for you guys and some final thoughts on the game, take a moment to remind everyone that this podcast is part of the Global Sports Podcast Network, the only network bringing you exclusive daily news and views on your Premier League team, the Premier League, women's football, and fantasy football. A unique listening experience that puts fans first, bringing you the very latest breaking news from your team. Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts and make us your first listen every day. Global Sports Podcast Network, every club, every day.
Every day.
All right, so I'm going to go one by one. Will, as you sip on some water, I will ask you the question. First, any final comments on the game itself, and then your man of the match?
Final comments on the game itself was just that, similarly to Fulham earlier in the season, I liked seeing Cody. I just like seeing him, just in general. I think I like that he got a bit of recognition off the away fans in the end. But I don't know. It's just I'm gonna have a little soft spot for him, and I know that's nothing tactical or anything at all, but it's just something I want to put out there. And my man of the match is between two, who I'm sure you could probably guess, but I'm actually, as a central midfield maestro myself, I'm going to give it to my long lost Brazilian twin, Andre.
Right. Okay. Yeah. There was so many elements to that response that I did not expect. The whole Cody thing and then the twin thing. But I'm going to push past that and thank you for your comments, Will.
I aim to please.
You're welcome. Just like I bring culture to the show with Gedge and pronunciations like that, you bring your own moments of joy to the team.
Look, no stone left unturned here at GSPN Daily Wolves.
Exactly. Nathan, can you top that with your match thoughts and man of the match?
Mine's going to sound dead boring now, but I'm just well pleased that we managed to get a clean sheet and a win. That was all I wanted from today. Was like I was happy with if we came out of it with like a 1-0 scrappy result. But the fact that we managed to get 3 goals and overall put on a really solid defensive display is just more than, it's exactly what the doctor ordered at this moment in the season. And my man of the match would be Rodrigo Gomez. I thought he was played, arguably out of position, in a new role that we haven't seen before. For his first full 90 minutes in the Premier League to put on a performance like that, so solid defensively, and just really liked it. And I struggled to actually see if, he put on such a good performance that does Aït-Nouri just walk back in? I don't know, because I think Rodrigo Gomez was cracking. But yeah, that's the standard answer for you there, Will.
Well, you've actually absorbed
in ages.
Sorry, I was going to say Nathan's absorbed into his answer one of my next questions, which was if Aït-Nouri, obviously Aït-Nouri is not suspended for the next game, so who does he come straight back in? And if he does it, or if he does, then does Rodrigo play somewhere else or go to the bench? On the flip, you've got to consider into that Cunha might not be in the lineup if his ban comes through, so that could have an element on that. Will, what do you think?
I think you call fix what A broken. The only way I see him getting back in is if, as you mentioned, Cunha is suspended. But I think Gomez did really well. Obviously well enough for Nathan's opinion to get man of the match from a Wolves perspective. I don't see how you can just drop someone, especially as a new manager. You've got to go with the credit that's in the bank, surely. Having said that, I think if he does get dropped and Aït-Nouri is back in, it's harsh on the kid, but I do love Rayan. So, there's worse problems to have either way.
Yeah, they've both got potential, whether it's at left wing back or just left wing, which I think is a silver lining. If Cunha is out, whether it's next game or the ones after that, that they can, again, a bit like Semedo and whoever's on the right, on the right with whether similarly they can swap almost like in interchange. Whereas on the right, it's like I'm talking about Semedo and Doc, but on the left it would be swapping like with whether it's Gedge or Cunha or whoever be on the left, and then they can interchange in that way. So you'd have Rodrigo Gomez and Aït-Nouri able to swap back and forth between left wing and left wing back, almost.
Yeah. I like the idea of that. To be fair, I think there's some really good questions that Vitor Pereira can kind of answer off the back of that performance. Some good problems that he's got.
Chris, can I just backtrack slightly? And unless I somehow zoned out and missed this, I want to know who your man of the match would be.
It's a good question. Before I go into that, I will say, as a comment on the state of how Wolves have been recently, I was actually away from a screen when the first goal went in because I watched it remotely today, and so when my notification buzzed on my watch that there was a goal, I had that moment of like, here we go, and I didn't think it would be us. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just so used to it being bad recently, I was dreading looking at my notification. It was that moment of fear, and then I was like, oh, it's us! Oh my gosh! And then another. I was like, what is going on? What is going on? I just could not believe it. I'm kind of in dreamland still about this whole thing.
Yeah, I just sort of randomly shouted yes in the middle of M&S when I checked my phone and saw that it was 3-0. So it's certainly a pleasant change. But does that mean that your man of the match was?
So my man of the match would probably be. I think you've both put good debates up there, and there's a few. The interesting thing is, there's a few good contenders today. But given that he got an assist and a goal, I'm going to go with Gedge.
I knew it, and I was just asking because I wanted to hear the pronunciation, and that would have been my second choice as well. I think it's a very good shout.
Yeah.
Is there any reason that it's only Gedge that gets the full Portuguese pronunciation and not all the other Portuguese players?
Because I just really like the way it sounds. So my other thought was, though, guys, before we move on, or start to wrap up, was if you're Sam Johnston right now, how do you feel, and what is going to happen with the goalkeeper situation come January? Because, and as I say this, Nathan's wincing, because you think about this, they spent 10 million on a keeper. He's been in and out the side. There's been under O'Neill, there's been clear confusion over who's the number one. In this new man, Vitor comes in, immediately puts Sarr in the starting lineup, and I respect it. But then what does that say about what's going to happen with the goalkeeper situation going forward? Because at one point Sarr seemed like he was practically out the door, and this could potentially change it. A Portuguese manager coming in, instantly putting him back in the lineup. Like, what is going on now? If you're Sam Johnston, what on earth are you doing now? You didn't come here to sit on the bench, Nathan.
I don't know, but quite frankly, right now, I couldn't care less. I think that having I think it's a really interesting situation because we obviously don't know what Sam Johnston was told when he came in, if he was going to come in at full time and Sarr was expected to leave, and then that didn't happen. We don't really know what's gone on and whether or not previous management screwed up with their communication. But frankly, we've got two Premier League level goalkeepers competing against each other for that spot. I prefer Sarr. I think we're all in agreement that Sarr's been, better standard than Johnston. But having that competition's a good thing, and the only way that Sam Johnston's going to get a move elsewhere is if his performances are good. So realistically, who's coming in for 10 million for Sam Johnston in January? I don't think anyone is. So he's either got to sit there and sulk or actually do the work to get back into the squad. And that's a good position for us to be in, to have two quality goalkeepers going for it.
Yeah, I think if I was Sam Johnston, I'd be I'd be fuming with O'Neill, and I think he had been sold lies to a certain extent. I don't think he was, as you said, Nathan. I don't think any of us thought he was better than Sarr or 10 million worth pounds, better anyway. But what I think is interesting, as much as we're in a good situation in terms of, I get what you're saying about there being Premier League level competition there. I dare say that come the end of the season, I know this isn't January, but I dare say that come the end of the season, all 4 of the goalkeepers we have could no longer be at the club in the summer window. And I wouldn't be opposed to that, to be honest. I think it's a bit of a weird setup that we've got in general right now. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is. Obviously, I think partly the likes of King, bless him and his commentary skills, are in there to make up the homegrown contingent of percentage, whatever that is. I forget the numbers, but that being a Welsh player, he fits that contingent, even though he doesn't get game time. And I think that's part of it. And the likes of Bentley probably still contribute to that. So I agree with you. I mean, they're not going to keep 4, so it'll be interesting to see. But my other flip side to the whole Johnston thing was if Sarr was at one point thinking I've got to wait till January and then I'm off, but then this has all happened, new manager coming in, back in the lineup, do you think he's going to be, if this winter period goes okay up until the window, do you think he might decide to stay?
Yeah, potentially, but that you could say the same about Gonzalo Gedge if you wanted to. Like he was tipped to go back on loan to Spain or even get a permanent move away just because of his. I mean, over the last 18 months, his lack of game time and the different moves that he's had on loan. So it's an interesting situation because new managers can do that to a squad where players that we haven't seen as much of before, we're going to see all of a sudden we'll see a lot more of. And then players that didn't have confidence under Gary O'Neill might just click under this new manager. So, yeah, let's hope. I mean, Gonzalo Gedge, I'm really trying with the pronunciation here. His recent performances in this game as well, it's just, if he is to be sold, which in the current situation, I hope he isn't. But if the plans are still to sell him, his price is just going to go up. So all these things are working in our favour, and the same for Jose Sarr. If he still wants to leave, then fine. Obviously, we don't want to keep players at the club that don't want to be there, but good performances are going to bring that price up. So, yeah.
Yeah. You agree with all that, Will, from the little noises?
Yeah.
He's happy. He's just happy today because we won. Everyone's happy. Yeah. We're all happy. So I guess we should wrap it up because we could. I mean, we said earlier in our little WhatsApp group that we're going to record all these discussions that we have. Was it you, Will? That's like I could talk for 5 hours tonight, or was that Nathan? I've lost track.
It was Nathan.
Yeah, I could record for 5 hours tonight, and we probably could. But we have all week to discuss all of the other elements that going to come up, including maybe later in the week how many points we think we're going to get from the coming fixtures over the winter break, and all the things like that, and the outcome of the press conferences and set piece practice and all the other things that we are hopefully going to get more input on over the coming days. But also, I'm going to talk to these guys very soon, but festive greetings to everyone out there.
Yeah.
Depending on when you listen to this, if it's the only one you listen to before Christmas Day, Merry Christmas, everyone. Or, season's greetings if that's your dream. All right. On that bombshell, when I've just made everyone sit silently catatonic while I go off on a Christmas tangent. And also, best of luck to all the NFL fantasy players out there living their fantasy playoff dream right now, like me. I'm currently watching my score in the semi-final. I'm doing okay, guys. I'm doing okay.
Good.
God bless.
I'm sure they're all delighted to hear that, Chris.
I know. I had to put it out there, guys. God bless Jameer Gibbs. That's all I can say. All right. So on that bombshell, just remember, everyone, that we've learned once again from today's victory, only one thing matters throughout life in all its formats. Out of darkness cometh light.
Every club, every day. The Global Sports Podcast Network.